Good morning. This is the message released today from the Sri Aurobindo Ashram in Pondicherry. All that the light from above asks of us, that it may begin its work, is a call from the soul and a sufficient point of support in the mind. This support can be reached through an insistent idea of the divine in the thought, a corresponding will in the dynamic parts, an aspiration of faith, a need in the heart. Any one of these may lead or predominate if all cannot move in unison or in an equal rhythm. Sri Aurobindo. Siddhi Day, the day of fulfillment. In 1926. It marks the culmination of a great part of Sri Aurobindo's spiritual life. It marks the beginning, officially, of the Sri Aurobindo Ashram, the constitution, officially, of a collective yoga. All these things were really there before. It isn't that Sri Aurobindo suddenly had the spiritual realization of what he came to term the overmind on this day in 1926. What it means is that that consciousness that he had normally became part of his physical experience. The body plays a crucial, not a significant, a crucial role in the integral yoga. Sri Aurobindo's spiritual life began of a sudden in 1908 when he sat for meditation and had almost instantly the Vedantic realization of a great, a vast spiritual consciousness, transcendent to the world's flux, beyond any possibility of personal reference. And with the enormity of that, swallowing his consciousness into it, he continued his work for the liberation of India politically. In other words, he found a means by which this eternal status of consciousness could be made dynamic in life. This would gather force in him. Not only did he have this impersonal realization of the vast consciousness of the Atman, of Brahman, he came in inner innings of divine solitude imposed upon him in prison to realize that this same divinity that we worship as an impersonality is a person and is everywhere. And those two realizations coexisting in him, not one the enemy of the other, became the bedrock of his further sadhana. Why would a man who has these liberations continue to do sadhana? Because by now he's seeing that a political revolution will not change the world. He's seeing that only a conscious revolution can do that. And now we begin to see, as he moves away from Bengal and arrives in Pondicherry, that the physical possibilities of participating in a yogic consciousness come to the fore more and more as he records in his journal. Every conscious exploration that he makes is tied back to the body. He doesn't follow any physical program that exists per se. He doesn't practice the calisthenics that were typical of the British, their training in those days. He doesn't practice Hatha Yoga exactly, but he does insist that the body demonstrate its strength, demonstrate its plasticity, demonstrate its receptivity. Because here's the thing. When we think of a yogin, we think of them as having come behind the curtain, and they live in the vastness of the spirit. But that separation from attachment and identity to the instruments of our nature allows the yogin to peer into each province and see how they are different. To us, we have an experience that's at once mental and emotional and physical. But to the yogin, they are separable. And if he finds a defect in some aspect of the physical nature, he can focus conscious force upon that. If he finds similarly something in the emotional nature, he can put the power of his liberation into that area. And so begin a slow change in his body's, his heart's, his mind's capacity to reflect the immensity of what he experiences. Now for Sri Aurobindo, the spiritual illumination that occurred in him did not pass. It was not a moment. Can you imagine a consciousness that has vaulted beyond the personal, lives in the transcendence, and yet is one with the cosmos? Always, at every moment, he is seeing this awesome, rapturous dance between spirit and matter, between the supreme and nature. This ecstasy, this bliss, which we can hardly bear a glimpse of. He has not only normalized in his interior regions, but is bringing more and more into his body. And so, as this date, the 24th of November, approaches in 1926, this cosmic consciousness is thundering down beyond the plane of the mind, beyond the plane of the vital, of the prana, but arriving in the very cells of his body, so that it's not just his consciousness which is able to hold, like a vast continent, all the riches of this splendorous divine self-revelation, but the body experiences that. This is the meaning. This is why Sri Aurobindo took this opportunity to say, we put a stake in the ground now. This has been done. This consciousness, which has long been realized by great rishis and yogins of the past, including Krishna, has now been made a physical part of the earth's experience. Why is that important? Because just as your mind is an aspect or a portion of the cosmic mind, your body is an aspect or portion of the cosmic body. What occurs in you occurs in the cosmos. So if you can change the inner enginery to your being, if you can demonstrate that your consciousness can alter the structure of matter, then that becomes a possibility for all that exists in nature. Our idea of a cosmic yoga then becomes not simply a sentiment or a future possibility, but a near fact, an achievable present. And there is nothing about sadhana that aims dreamily at something in the future. It is insistent on real action, reality. One has to be conscious in the act. One has to be intent. So, Sri Aurobindo's achievement on this day had shock waves throughout the community. Many people were lifted in their own practice of sadhana into new heights of consciousness, because we do not live in a vacuum. We live in interconnectedness with all things, and with those who are especially part of the effort. It is like a kula. A kula can mean family, can mean group, can mean body, can mean heart. If you change yourself at the center of your being, you change heart, mind, and physicality all. And it is thrown out as a radiance that affects everyone within its reach. The more powerful the consciousness, the farther it stretches. Sri Aurobindo knew that this achievement, while it in a sense closed the age of religions, opens us to new pioneering efforts, because yet we have to ascend to the supramental, the truth consciousness, that radiant home of the everlasting truth, as he called it. We have not managed to bring that to the body yet, but let us strive to find that point in us which opens the soul, which allows us to commune with the cosmos, so that we can advance in a grand promenade towards future realizations. So it is a happy day, the day of fulfillment, and I wish you a happy darshan. When we come back from our meditation, we'll distribute prasad, and then have a communal lunch, and distribute the message of the day, which in Vicky's absence was printed by her faithful friend Elaine Sargent for us. And we're glad to have Vicky back just in time for the 24th. That itself is a victory. So namaste. Jai Ma.